61 points. The New York Knicks led by 61 points. This wasn't a basketball game, it was an execution. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Stephen A. in the house right here live on Sirius XM Mad Dog Sports Radio, coming at you every weekday from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Number to call is always 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. I love everybody. I just want to say that. Even that whack ASS caller that just called Ian near the tail end of the Katie Nolan show talking about he can't stand New York Knicks fans. What difference does it make? You're just going to go to the finals and lose anyway. Well, damn it. Getting to the finals counts. We don't care. I couldn't be more happier that the New York Knicks did what I told everybody yesterday they were going to do, which was stomp the Atlanta Hawks the way that they should. I told y'all the people in Atlanta, listen, I'm sorry to break it to you. There was no magic in the city last night. The Atlanta Hawks got stomped, romped in epic fashion. And the New York Knicks now have folks legitimately fantasizing about a trip to the NBA Finals. Let me put it quite plainly. New York Knicks going to the finals. New York Knicks going to the finals. You might say I'm just a prisoner of the moment. I say you're not paying attention to what's going on. Before I get into why the New York Knicks are going to the NBA Finals, let me highlight what happened last night in the ATL. The New York Knicks were up at halftime by 47. 47-point lead at halftime. A basketball abomination the likes of which we have not seen. They were up 40-5 before the Atlanta Hawks had an opportunity to pass gas. The Knicks had as many steals as the Hawks had field goals made in the first half with 12. Atlanta had more turnovers than baskets made in the first half. With about 8 minutes and 21 seconds left in the third quarter, the New York Knicks were up 101-40. They were up by 61 points. It's hard to put into words. OG Anunoby had 29 points, best player for the Knicks. Karl-Anthony Towns had a triple-double showing his versatility. Mikal Bridges dropped 24 points on 10 of 12 from the field. We will need that going forward, no doubt. The Knicks on defense looked like a pack of piranhas. The Hawks couldn't do a damn thing. New York suffocated them, swarmed them, overwhelmed them at every turn. They ended the series in 6 games, advancing to the Eastern Conference semifinals. 4th consecutive year the Knicks have done that, their longest streak since a 9-year run from 1992 to 2000. And in these last 3 games, after being down 2-1 and losing back-to-back 1-point games, the Knicks outscored Atlanta by 96 points, averaging 126.7 points, shooting 55% from the field, 41% from 3, and out-rebounding them by 37. Big boy basketball Atlanta had no answer for. Let me say this. If I were the owner of the Atlanta Hawks, Quinn Snyder and his coaching staff wouldn't have made it out of the building with a job. To be on your home turf in a closeout game and get embarrassed like that, they'd have been fired immediately. Completely, utterly, and totally unprepared for the onslaught the New York Knicks brought. Now let me tell you why I think the New York Knicks are going to the finals. It's not just because of the way they played these last 3 games. I understand the Atlanta Hawks are not the Boston Celtics, or the Los Angeles Lakers. They're a decent young team with promise and upside, but they ain't there yet. Here's what you have to understand. It's not about them. It's about the New York Knicks. It's about what Brunson is capable of. It's about what Karl-Anthony Towns is capable of. It's about what this team collectively can do from top to bottom. They have experience, veteran leadership, athleticism, shotmakers, and a unit that can be elite defensively. But here's the other side. Nobody else is looking like they were supposed to look. The Boston Celtics were up 3-1. Now the series is tied 3-3 and the Sixers look like they're about to take Boston out in Game 7. Jaylen Brown, a top 5 MVP candidate who spent most of the season as a top 3 candidate, was a -24 on the basketball court last night. Paul George defending him, validating his max deal, putting in 23 points while giving Jaylen Brown all types of problems. Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, VJ Edgecombe, there's something to deal with there. You can't dismiss these brothers. Tyrese Maxey is a superstar in this league. He's a special ball player, and he shows up. And then there's Joel Embiid, who wasn't even supposed to play this series because of his appendectomy. Comes back, didn't look great in Game 4, and then in Games 5 and 6 has looked like an absolute monster. Boston has absolutely no answer for him. If Embiid gives you anything, even the 19, 10, and 8 he gave last night after dropping 33 in Game 5, Philly's winning this series. And here's one of the biggest reasons why. Did you see Jason Tatum and that calf tightening up? Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that simple. Game 4 of last year's playoffs, Jason Tatum tore his Achilles. He worked diligently to come back and over the last 10+ games has been averaging better than 25, giving you 10 rebounds, about 7 assists. He's been special and hasn't even found his 3-point shot yet. But here's what you have to keep in mind with an Achilles injury: overcompensation. While you're healing, you're overcompensating on the other leg. The great Tim Grover, who trained Michael Jordan, texted me this morning. He said, "Remember what I told you years ago about the Achilles? I've never been worried about the surgical one. My concern was always the other leg." That's exactly what Tatum may have done. It reminded me of Kevin Durant. It reminded me of Haliburton and Lillard, and those two haven't come back. Tatum rushed back because Boston is competing for a championship. But I'm not playing Jason Tatum in Game 7 if I'm the Boston Celtics. I have a $350 million investment in this man. I see him rubbing that leg. I know the risk. I'm sitting him down. He's not playing until next season. Jaylen Brown, you were an MVP candidate all year long. Do it again. One game. Get us through Game 7 the way you did last year. That's what I need. 888 Mad Dog 6. That's 888-623-3646. We'll get into Toronto and Cleveland. Detroit and Orlando tonight. If it wasn't for Franz Wagner being out, I'd easily think Orlando closes it out, but Detroit could win and force a Game 7 back home. Out west, Minnesota knocked out Jokic. Jamal Murray didn't show up to help him. Rudy Gobert did a hell of a job. Oklahoma City finished Phoenix in a sweep. San Antonio finished Portland in 5. And then you've got the Lakers against the Houston Rockets. Luka's out. Austin Reeves got back, but he's still rusty. LeBron James, 41 years old, his 23rd season. Under no circumstances should the full weight of accountability fall on his shoulders if the Lakers lose. But if we're keeping it a buck, 159 teams in NBA playoff history have been up 3-0. None of them lost. None. 159-0. And now the Los Angeles Lakers, who are up 3-0, have lost 2 straight. Houston won Game 5 at Crypto.com Arena in LA with 5 starters 24 years old or less. Jabari Smith Jr., Alperen Sengun, Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd, nobody over 24. LeBron looked flat and fatigued. His jumper wasn't there. His legs didn't look fresh despite 2 days' rest. These kids were thoroughbreds. Amen Thompson played 45 minutes and barely broke a sweat. They're young, they're hungry, and they want to prove they can win without Kevin Durant, who only played 1 game in the series. I think they tie it up tonight in Houston, and if that happens, there's a Game 7 at Crypto.com Arena on Sunday. And LeBron James will be on the court, in position to become the first superstar in NBA history associated with blowing a 3-0 lead and losing a series. I don't think it would be fair to put it all on him. No Luka, no healthy Reeves, others haven't stepped up. But we know people aren't going to listen to that. From a legacy standpoint, LeBron James cannot afford to lose this series. There ain't no other way to slice it. As promised, the ultimate NBA insider in the world today, my colleague and buddy from ESPN, the one and only Shams Charania. What's up, big time? Shams, how many years have you been covering basketball? Because I'm pretty sure you've never seen a beatdown the likes of what we witnessed last night in Atlanta. Shams says he's covered it for 16 years and didn't expect it at all. Going in, he actually had more confidence in Atlanta taking it to 7 than Philly taking it to 7, and it ended up reversed. That's why he doesn't make predictions. But New York came out and played exactly like how they're constructed. They love the depth, they love Brunson, OG, Bridges, Hart, KT, Mitchell Robinson off the bench, Deuce McBride as a contributor. They had a chance to go get Giannis last summer, could have made other moves, but they genuinely believe in this group. A week ago the world was falling down, it was 2-2 and SportsCenter was asking if major changes were coming in New York. Only in New York do you get that energy. And now they've handily gotten to the second round. I ask Shams, you're the ultimate insider. What were you hearing would have happened if the Knicks continued that downward spiral and lost this series? He says everyone he spoke to, around the situation and around the league, said the same thing. Everything is on the table if they lost in the first round. Once Jim Dolan publicly set the bar at a championship before the season started, anything short of that is a failure. Even now, the gauntlet has been laid. Getting to the finals is the only thing that's considered a success in Jim Dolan's eyes. But everything would have been on the table had they gone home early. I transitioned to Boston. Embiid is just a difference maker, plain and simple. But Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and Paul George showing up defensively against Jaylen Brown, we can't ignore that either. My question to Shams is about Tatum. When you rehab an injury, you overcompensate on the other leg. Tim Grover told me that years ago. It's never the surgical leg he worries about, it's the healthy one. Seeing Tatum tighten up last night, knowing the investment, knowing he came back earlier than expected, what is Boston's mindset going into Game 7? Shams says knowing the investment they have in Tatum, $300 million plus, they're taking every step to make sure he's 100% before he steps on the floor. They're not letting him play unless he checks every medical box. But he says Tatum told teammates after the game, "I'm good, I'm playing, it's fine." Joe Mazzulla denied an injury even happened and has told everyone who will listen that Tatum is playing in Game 7. Boston fully expects him on the court. 2 parts on Philly, the status of Embiid, and if they go home, what's the future of Daryl Morey, especially with Josh Harris owning the team and Bob Myers advising his entire portfolio? Shams says Myers is overseeing everything in the Harris portfolio, the Sixers, the Commanders, the NHL team, all of it. He loves basketball, he's sitting courtside at games, but it's a big operation. If Philly loses in the first round, there will be serious questions about the front office and coaching staff even though Nurse and Morey have years left on their deals. But the roster is pretty locked in with those contracts, so any change has to answer. Will you really find someone to take this team to another level? And you have to give Nick Nurse enormous credit for taking this team to 7 games against Boston. Switching to the West, Minnesota knocking out Jokic. I didn't expect it, even knowing Edwards and DiVincenzo were both out. But Jaden McDaniels dropped 32 and defended his way to backing up all his talk. Rudy Gobert locked Jokic up. Jamal Murray struggled. What about Denver going forward and Jokic even admitting that in Serbia, everybody would have been fired? Shams says he's right, overseas they do it differently. But when you lose Anthony Edwards and DiVincenzo, Minnesota was playing with house money. When Denver had Jaden McDaniels sitting in Game 6, that was the biggest moment. They had to get that game and didn't. Jamal Murray struggled at different points this series. Aaron Gordon was out for most of it. This team has a lot of questions. But Shams says from their top brass on down, they believe Jokic at his word. He wants to be there, he's resigning, he's not threatening to leave or making demands. That's the approach. But changes are coming in Denver regardless, whether it's a couple of players or more. They're so strapped financially between the tax and the aprons that there are going to be serious conversations about this roster. Now Houston and the Lakers. Down 3-0, now 3-2. If Houston wins tonight it's 3-3. Luka's out, Reeves is back but rusty, and we know history won't chronicle any of that. What's the talk around the league as this series progresses with Houston throwing out a starting 5 with nobody older than 24 and no Kevin Durant, and still beating the Los Angeles Lakers? Shams says that stat is crazy. The Rockets made history, the youngest starting 5 ever to win a playoff game, and they did it against LeBron and a veteran-laden team with Marcus Smart, DeAndre Ayton, Luke Kennard. If you're the Lakers, you need to find what you had in the first 3 games. LeBron with multiple days of rest was firing on all cylinders. Then it went every other day. Game 4, 10 points and 8 turnovers. Game 5, Reeves came back, still turnovers. But Shams says Houston has figured out how to play up-tempo and send waves of youth at this veteran team. This is exactly the type of young, talented team built to beat the Lakers. And on KD, if you're getting 60% of Kevin Durant in the role they have him playing, being doubled, slicing through traffic at his age with a bruised tendon and then an ankle sprain, you might actually be worse off with him than without him. 100% KD? You want that all day. But not this version. Why didn't Houston go find a point guard when Fred VanVleet tore his ACL before the season even started? Everyone knew fourth quarters and clutch time were a problem all year long. Shams says it's exactly for the reason I laid out. They struggled to close games all season. But the Rockets made a conscious decision. They decided they would rather live and die by Reed Shepherd and Amen Thompson and let them grow, not just for this year but for the next several years. These guys are all early 20s. Alperen Sengun might be the oldest at 24 or 25. They are playing for development as much as they are playing to win now. It would be easier with a healthy Fred VanVleet. He sets the table, adds veteran levity, complements Durant's role perfectly. But once VanVleet got hurt, they made their decision. Right or wrong, they're living and dying by their young players. The one and only Shams Charania, ultimate NBA insider for ESPN. 888 Mad Dog 6, that's 888-623-3646. Back with your calls and more in a minute. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show on SiriusXM Mad Dog Sports Radio.